Okay. I guess we need to go back into this Kyle Busch caution then, because we got
Yeah,
a little
100%.
sidetracked
We
there.
got sidetracked.
Add for NASCAR, this is a race where, it's going to be strategy and it's going to be a long-term green flag run here. Most people expected that stage to go green for the entire stage, myself included, to be quite honest there. And you have a guy hit the wall, keep it going. It took the broadcast minutes to figure out what the caution was. I thought it was going to be a phantom debris caution. And I guess my question is, if we're in the middle of the green flag pit cycles, if let's say half the field's pitted and the rest of the field's going to be trapped half a lap down, are they going to throw that caution? My guess is no, because they don't want to mess with the strategy of the race. But instead they waited till everyone pits. You have somebody hit the wall, and they're so eager to touch the yellow and bunch the field back up. Richmond isn't a race where, the field's going to be bunched up and there's going to be good racing. For the second half of stage 2, you saw single file, not a lot of movement at the top 15. I'm frustrated with NASCAR because it was going to be a decent, race for what it was. It was an old school style race at Richmond, which is, what we've got in the last few years, especially. But instead, you just had a boring carousel for the end of stage 2. And it ultimately almost was the story of the race until that calamity of a finish.
Yeah, I think, like we said, we had talked about, we had basically a show sheet prepared, and then all of a sudden with the calamity that ended. But yeah, I couldn't agree with your analysis there more, Bob. It was just that to throw the caution there. I understand, wanting to err on the side of caution quite literally, and being safe and driver safety has to be a priority. But, you know, if guys who have, if the combined racing experience of Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick struggle that hard to figure out what the caution was for, chances are what happened shouldn't have been a caution. And, ultimately Alex Bowman gets screwed and, whatever. But it just is one of these things that they're getting a little too subjective with this. They need to get back to some sort of objective criteria to decide, okay, this is when we are going to hit the button and throw the caution. This is when we're not. Ultimately, I think we all came into this race with the understanding that if you just solo hit the wall or, self spin, stuff like that, unless you are, sliding back into the track and stuff like that, they're going to throw the caution. It just didn't seem like this fit the criteria for what we have known to be a caution as of late.
I made a big rant about it in Atlanta, and I'm going to come back to it now. Kyle Busch's wall hit today was a caution, but William Byron hitting the wall spinning out in Atlanta was not. Where they had to completely go around people on pit road, but they didn't want to mess with the green flag cycle in Atlanta. I just would love a little consistency on what is a caution. It feels like kind of the NFL's what is a catch, what is a caution in NASCAR. It feels like, we're so gung-ho to stack the field up. And like I said, at Richmond, it's just not the typical racing that you're going to get. It's not a typical short track where everyone's bunched up is a good thing. This is a race where it's strategy and, tire saving. You saw that in stage 2. People were coming and going. It was a cycle there. You saw guys stay out. Christopher Bell tried it in stage 3, but stage 2 is really the money place where if you were going to split the stages, that was the one. And NASCAR just, by a decision, almost flipped the race and made it just that boring carousel. It's just, it shows that, that decision is very powerful, when to throw that yellow and when not.
100%. And none of these decisions happen in a vacuum. I mean, ultimately, yes, okay, you're trying to keep a driver safe, but I think it's just as one of these things that we've seen the caution flag kind of used to enhance entertainment value, even if NASCAR doesn't want to admit it. I think that sometimes the caution flag gets pulled out unnecessarily. And like I said, I just think the problem right now is that, of course, every referee has a different style and stuff like that, but it just doesn't seem to make sense that a race official should have that much leeway in deciding what is or isn't a caution, to the fact to where people who watch the sport week to week can look back. I mean, earlier in the season, like you said at Atlanta, same thing happened. Guys are moving at a higher speed and the caution still doesn't come out. It's got to make sense. It's got to be natural. It's got to be intuitive. And right now it's just none of those things, which makes this really frustrating.